Happy Valentine's Day, y'all. I am talking all things romance novels today because it's all about the romance for me. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Books with Kimberly. Don't forget to like, comment, share my channel, and subscribe. Y'all, today I'm so excited because I am talking all things romance novels. Last year, inspired by Valentine's Day, I posted my It's All About the Romance video, and I spoke about several of my favorite romance novels and the genres that they fall into. Go check that out. But this year I'm coming back with It's All About the Romance Part 2, and I am talking all things romantic tropes. The first trope I'm going to speak about is probably my favorite trope because when I went back and listened to my old video from last year, about 6 of the books that I mentioned all fit under this trope, and this trope is second chances. I really love this trope. It goes with the theme, the one that got away. And I love the idea of couples who dated in the past coming back together by fate, by accident, by chance, and rekindling that relationship. And I think one of my favorite elements of this trope is that you get this history of where they came from, where they are now, and then them rekindling this romance. You start to imagine, where can they go from here? Last year when I posted my video, It's All About the Romance, I mentioned several books that fit under this trope, but one that I did not mention was one that I read last year, and it was one of my favorite books of 2021, which is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This book definitely falls under second chances, the romantic trope. This book is about 2 characters. Both of them met in high school. They had this very toxic young relationship in their early teens, and then they reconnect years later, and they're dealing with the hurt from what happened years ago and trying to figure out where they stand now and where they can possibly go. And I think that's why I really love this trope. I think sometimes romance can be very cliche, and in this trope you get background story, you get where they are now, what changes have they been through, what really happened to make them break up, because oftentimes it is a misunderstanding. You might have thought this person just left you out of the blue, but maybe something else happened that caused the two of you to split. Maybe they found out something that wasn't true. And so you're finding out, why did they actually break up? Can they get over it? Where do they go from there? You get to see these feelings that they can't control kind of come over them, and they're trying to fight it, like, I can't stand him, I don't want to be around him, and then they just end up kissing and steamy stuff happens, and I just love everything about it. The one thing that sometimes gets me with this trope though is if they take too long to kind of reconnect. Of course, from the minute that they see each other after so many years, that chemistry can be seen through the anger and the, oh my God, he's here, I need to avoid him. But if that period of them trying to ignore each other, them not wanting to talk, if that period is too drawn out in a book, I do get a little bit anxious. Y'all know I'm an impatient reader. Like, this isn't a surprise. So, of course, I'd be a little bit like, okay, girl, hurry up and forgive him, because you know you want this fine man. He found out that he was back then, and you want him. So, hurry up, get over the hurt, and get to the, the steaminess. Look at me, y'all. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite trope, and I've read so many books. Let me know if you've read any books that fall into this trope. My second one, which is a huge popular trope, is enemies to lovers. I like a book where it's like 2 people who like have a little tiff, don't really like each other, and then all of a sudden, you know, I mean, it don't be all of a sudden, but suddenly they start liking each other. They see a different side of each other. Maybe that boss or that coworker they couldn't stand, that neighbor they can't stand. All of a sudden, you see a sweeter side of them, and they start liking each other. I would say enemies to lover. An example of this could be Deuces Wild, a Christina C. Jones book that I read last year. Cree and Ace, they started off as enemies because Cree is this detective that was kind of sticking his nose in some of the dealings that was happening, and Ace was very protective over her best friend who she works for and does security for him. And so, you know, he was all up in like, what's happening, Ace? What are you doing here? They would kind of be butting heads because they would both end up at the crime scene together. She doing her security work, him doing his detective work, trying to find out how her people are involved in certain dealings, and, you know, just being a cop and nosing around. And she would be frustrated, but through all of that, you could see the chemistry they had. So I think that's a great example of enemies to lovers. So those are like my top 2 tropes that I like. Another trope I like is pretend lovers. That's kind of when one of the characters is pretending to be the other character's spouse or something. A book that did a really nice spin on this was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang. I thought this was a really good example of it. In this book, the main character actually pays for a boyfriend. So I like this idea of like, I got the money, I'm ready for romance, I'm ready to enjoy what a romance brings, and I'm gonna pay for it because sis got the money. And so she actually pays for her pretend boyfriend. Another example of this is one of the Nicole Norris books I read. Was it Fever? I think it could have been Fever. I'll put which one it was right here. In that book, one of the brothers, he in order for him to inherit the dad's business, he needs to get married. And so his little fling that he got, he's like, look, can you pretend to be my girlfriend? And he proposes to her, and it's fake. And so that gets his dad happy and gets his dad to give him the business. And so I definitely love a good marriage of convenience as well, which is kind of an offset of that. That's when couples actually get married, and they get married for another reason, but they end up falling in love at the end. Xeni by Rebekah Weatherspoon is a great example of this one. In this book, Xeni, her aunt passes away, and in the will, in order for Xeni to inherit her fortune, she has to marry this local guy that's there, and he'll get like thousands of dollars to help him pay off his debt. And the two of them get married, and of course they plan, I think they have to stay married for like a year, but of course within that year the romance happens, y'all, because it's all about the romance. And sis wasn't going nowhere. Ain't nobody getting no divorce. I definitely love a good love triangle. Like I said last year in my video, one of the things that I actually liked about the Twilight and the Hunger Games series and a lot of YA novels is that there's always this love triangle going on. There's like the bad boy, then there's like the guy from back home, and there's always this battle of, I mean, in every single one. YA really loves a love triangle, and it's always the little guy from back home and the new guy who like has all the riches and stuff, and you have to choose which one. I really love that trope though. It just gets me every time in YA. You see that love triangle even in Tomi Adeyemi's Children of Blood and Bone. You guys get down in the comments and let me know, what are some tropes that you love in romance? Romance is like my favorite genre. I just love everything about two people falling in love, rekindling love, and just, you know, it gives me all the butterflies, and it's so cute and warm. Have a happy Valentine's Day, and I hope y'all enjoy reading some romance. Thank you again for tuning into another Books with Kimberly video.